Alright everybody, welcome to another Ink and Paint Club movie review here, and we got two fresh newbies with me today. Tonight we're going to be reviewing the movie Tales of Vesperia: The First Strike, kind of an interesting one for our channel here, because we don't do a whole lot of anime. With me, like I said, we got two new guys here. We got a longtime friend of mine by the name of Luca.
Hey, how's it going?
It's going good, man. It's good to have you on here.
It's good to be here.
And from it's good to finally have you on here, man. And from the Gaming Pilgrimage YouTube channel, we have Darren.
Hey, thanks for having me on. I'm really excited to talk about today's film.
Yeah, it's great. It's good to have on here, man. A couple months ago, or it might have been a couple weeks, I don't know. Time is an illusion to me. I was just searching around on YouTube because I've been really wanting to get into the Tales series. Personally, I've only really played like most of Vesperia and a little bit of Abyss, but like I'm kind of interested by the Tales series, so I was trying to look up good reviews and stuff, and I came across Darren's channel. And Darren, you've done like an entire like retrospect on like almost every game in the series so far.
Everyone except for the newest one, which I've yet to finish, and people have been really upset about that. It's like, come on, Darren, it's been almost like a year. I'm like, I'm trying.
I mean, these games are long, man.
Yeah, they're not short, and there's so many RPGs. Yeah, it's Vesperia is the latest one that I've done first impressions on, but I haven't fully finished the game yet.
Yeah.
I'm not super compelled to, especially as so many like big RPG releases coming up. Like there's going to be Dragon Quest VII, there's the Shin Megami Tensei IV Apocalypse, there's like a bunch of stuff coming out. Like even that Final Fantasy 15 people talk about.
Yeah.
Oh, jeez.
I already got my copy pre-ordered.
Darren and Luca are both way more knowledgeable than I am about the Tales series, so I figured bring them on here. They can tell me when I'm completely wrong, when I get characters' names wrong, or completely forget plot points and stuff. So
Just say, God damn it, JD.
And then when we're wrong, no one can correct us.
Right, you can't correct the experts. I mean, damn.
That's not how YouTube works.
Right.
I made the video. You can't correct me.
No,
What's a
I am
comment
always...
section?
Make sure to disable that comment section.
You don't make the annotations, I do. That's the only place for corrections.
Oh gosh. So Tales of Vesperia came out a couple years ago here in 2009. Jesus Christ. I graduated high school in 2009. I feel old now.
Oh, stop making us feel old.
Oh boy.
Oh god. Damn it, anime industry. Basically, Tales of the First Strike here is just the animated film taking place in the Tales of Vesperia world. It's a prequel to the game, so if you've never played it, it's fine. I mean, there's little Easter eggs I'm sure we'll get into that it helps if you've played the game, but it's set like it's like a year before the game starts, something like that.
I believe that's correct.
Yeah, something like that. So it goes through like just this little adventure with the main characters Yuri and Flynn, while they're dealing with this whole. The more I think about it, the more like really complicated it is to explain what the world of Vesperia is in like 2 sentences. But yeah, it just the little adventure of Yuri and Flynn going through their times as royal knights, and there's this weird madness going on with the world.
Pretty much.
Best synopsis ever.
Let's put it this way. It's your simple RPG dilemma. The world's gonna end. You gotta save the world. And we gotta start somewhere.
More or less.
Yeah, it kind of just starts with them hanging out at like this town they're stationed at in their current night unit, I guess you would say. And essentially, there's just this town's being attacked constantly by monsters that are appearing out of nowhere.
Yeah.
And I guess their purpose this movie is just to investigate what's causing that. And that's pretty much most of what they're doing in this movie.
More or less, this movie starts as like a building for the basis of Yuri and Flynn's foils to each other. Yuri being the type of character who follows more of an anti-hero path, and Flynn is more so your typical Tales protagonist, the idealist who wants to get everything done through a just and peaceful means.
Yeah. So yeah, I'm really interested to hear what you guys think about this movie, as people who are really familiar with all the Tales tropes and characters and the world building and stuff. So, like, I know, like, the bare bones of the world of Vesperia. That's, like, literally my entire knowledge of, like, the Tales series. So, Darren, you're the YouTube expert man here. What is your, like, general takeaway from this movie? Like, what did you think about it?
Well, I think as contributing to the overall kind of canon, or I guess for a lack of a better word, like the story arc of Yuri's time with the Knights, I think this movie is really interesting in that it's referred to a lot in the actual game that Yuri was once a knight, and you don't really get a sense of what he did back then or what made him leave. Mm-hmm. All you know is that, like, something happened, he didn't like it, he left, and then Flynn kind of toughed it out, and that kind of puts them in their contrasting situations a lot of the time, where they go into those foils, as we're kind of mentioning earlier. I like this movie as kind of like the prequel piece to, like, you get an idea of where Yuri used to be and where he kind of has his character in the beginning of the game. Although it's kind of very short for what it's kind of built up to be in the game. It's built like, oh, he was a knight, and he did all this stuff, and he and Flynn were best buds, and then he left.
Yeah. I do think it was kind of weird, because it's like, in the game, it's so built up that, like, you know, Yuri was a knight, something happened, and he's like, no, I can't be a part of this, I'm done. And and I have a lot of nitpicks for this movie, so I apologize if I'm going to sound a little overly whiny. But that was one of my sticking points, was that, like, I like that it does get into a lot of back things that were hinted at in the game, and it gives you some more context for it. But I also didn't like that it was, like, one thing that sent Yuri to, you know, leave the Knights. Just like, this one thing happened, and then he's like, well, I'm out, peace.
And he left on surprisingly good terms too, considering, like, how the beginning of Vesperia sets him up, that he kind of, like, hates the authority and all that.
I thought that was...
But you really...
Go ahead, Luca.
But you really see it in the movie with how, like, you know, Flynn goes and gets back up because Niren asks for it, but the Knights are all like, we're more concerned about a ceremony than helping some poor-ass citizens who are most likely going to die within the next few days.
Right.
So we're just going to shove it off as not important compared to our royalty attitude.
Yeah. And like...
What's weird about that, though, is that affects, like, more Flynn directly than Yuri, and Flynn's the one that kind of, like, stays there, which kind of... It almost, like, makes it seem like in the movie that they're setting it up that Flynn's going to be the one who gets, like, disillusioned with the whole Knight Order, especially because what happened with his dad.
Yeah, okay, and that's another thing that was kind of weird to me in this movie. Is, like, they bring up Flynn's dead dad a lot. Like...
Is he ever mentioned in the game?
I don't know if they ever bring it...
I don't think...
Go ahead, Luca.
I don't think it's ever mentioned once in the original Xbox version, but in the updated PS3 version, where Flynn becomes a fully playable character, I think his character is a lot more developed in the...
Interesting.
That's right, because the PS3 version also adds Hiska and Chastel as characters as well that you can interact with.
Yeah, because the movie is more so set up as a prequel and also a marketing campaign for the updated PS3 version.
That makes sense. Okay, so getting more into, like a lot of like you were saying, like, this movie is built to set up, you know, things that are going to happen in Vesperia, and I like that there's a lot of, like, context. Like, I like how in the beginning of the game, someone asks, like, oh, why does Rapide have a pipe? And Yuri's explanation for it is like, oh, he got it from his old master or whatever. And I like that they showed is like, no, it was Niren. Is that his name?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Thank you. Yeah, it was Nyron's pipe, and fucking, I feel so bad for Baby Repeat. He's so sad. He's so this fat little dog thing.
Puppy Repeat goes through like substantial character development, man.
He
And
does.
like it was, I was watching this with my fiance, and like, she thinks it's funny when I play Tales because it's like it's really hokey at a lot of points when she watches it. So she's like, "Oh, that's so dumb," but it's like just in a joking way. She's not like making fun of. But we were watching this, and she got like legit sad when Repeat's dad died.
It's arguably like the most emotional point in the movie, despite what they try to set up later.
But it was funny because like up until they like Yuri says like I couldn't save your dad or whatever he says, I did not realize that dog was Repeat's dad. I thought it was just another dog that he hung out with.
Oh, I kind of picked up on that right away just because they were always together.
And
Yeah,
they're
it's like
the same breed as well.
Yeah, it's like I was kind of like going back and forth like, is that his dad or is it just another dog? Because I don't know. But then they like came out and said it's like, oh, that's your dad. And it's like that's horribly depressing now. Poor Repeat's got a dead dad. He has a lot.
Everyone's got a
Flynn
dead
now.
dad in this movie. Flynn, you got Repeat.
Yuri doesn't have parents at all.
Yeah, Yuri's parents. Who knows what happens to them?
Well, yeah, he's an orphan after all.
Poor everybody's just like nobody has parents in this world. God damn.
You can't be a JRPG hero if you have parents. They got to go at some
Right.
point.
At least one of them has to.
No, I don't think anybody in Vesperia has a parent.
Yeah.
I'm thinking about it. I think you might be right.
Yeah, because like Rita's all on her own, and well, Raven's obviously too old for that to matter.
Judith definitely
don't
does not have any family.
Yeah, you don't see Estelle's parents at all either. Weird. Yeah, no one in the main party has parents. That's weird. Okay, but speaking of like the other party members, I like that. I have a back and forth to this. I like that the other party members that you're gonna meet up with eventually do like make appearances, but they have like varying degrees of like why are they in this movie. Like I like that Rita was in here. She had like an impact on the plot. I like how she contributed, and I like that Flynn has like this little moment with Estelle, so it kind of sets up their relationship because like in the beginning of the game she's going on to Yuri is like, oh, Flynn's my friend, we hang out all the time, blah blah blah, blah. And that's great. I like the little moment. Raven had no point to be in this movie other than the fact that it's like a little reference like, ha, he's gonna be in the party later. Am I just being a dick?
Not necessarily. I can see what you mean. I always kind of felt like Rita's scene was like strangely long and kind of weird considering how her character is in the game, where she's like all kind of just droopy and sleepy. In the movie is kind of like, huh. She's a lot more like uptight in the game, and if someone like just walked into her lab, she would have like flipped her shit. And then she's kind of just pretty chill talking to Niren, and is it Hiska he's with during that scene?
I think so.
Which one's the one with the bigger breasts?
That's the only way you can tell the difference.
That's how they tell them apart.
Yeah. You, the bigger one, come with me.
I think it's Niska.
But on the topic
Yeah,
of the character cameos, I do kind of like Raven's addition here because it kind of makes more sense in a way than Rita's because of the guild interworkings within the city.
Mm-hmm.
And so just him there is kind of the middleman with a lot of the guilds and the big guild in the game from Dongrest. I do kind of like that. I like how he's not... I think because he doesn't do much in this movie kind of makes it better. So it's not too intrusive because he doesn't really need to have a role to play here.
Yeah.
It's kind of just like a neat little thing.
And it keeps that nice little enigmatic nature of his character from the original game.
Yeah, for sure, and it also kind of attributes to the thing where he like he's been keeping tabs on Yuri for a while because when he meets him in prison, it kind of seems like he knows what Yuri's deal is.
I'll just say that. Okay, I think I take back what I said. That does make sense now. Interesting.
Another thing I'd like to just put a minor point out with the movie is it was interesting to see some of the main characters, particularly Estelle, Rita, and Raven, to have different voice actors in this game. movie as opposed to their game counterparts.
Yeah, I honestly like I'm not too familiar with like anime voice actors, and like obviously it's been a while since I played the game, so like I don't really remember. But yeah, that is interesting that you were telling me that the other day, that like a lot, like, isn't only Yuri and Flynn the only two returning voice actors?
I think that's the case. Yeah.
Yeah, and I think DC Douglas also came back as Commandant Alexei for his minor moment.
The all 3 seconds he was in this movie.
Yeah.
He's there to yell once or twice.
Yeah, but
I mean, it's a good scene, and I like it, and I like that it sets that up, that whole he's kind of an asshole thing up. So obviously, if you've gotten to this point and you haven't realized it, obviously spoilers, because I constantly forget to tell people that when I begin these reviews.
That's what annotations are for.
Right.
That's the only place corrections can happen.
So what did you guys think of the main villain of this of the movie? Because I have some words, but I'd like to get your guys' opinion first.
Darren, how about you go first?
Sure. So I take it we're talking about Garista, who is the spectacled baddie. Who pretty much from moment zero, just even by just looking at his design, you're just like, I don't trust you. Because I actually mentioned this before we started recording, that I had a friend of mine who was watching this movie a couple of years ago when I just got him into the Tales series, and I said to him, like, hey, I want you to guess who the main villain of the movie is. As soon as the first scene you think you see this character, send me a picture. And he got it right, like, immediately with, like, the first scene that... I think it's when him and Niran just sit down and talk. He's like, yeah, he's evil. And I'm like, yeah.
Right.
And I feel like this movie also... It is! And he does the whole push up your glasses, and they have, like, the flare go on. All that. You can kind of tell. But I feel like this movie also kind of spoils, like, that Alexei is going to be one of the main villains of the game, which is kind of weird to do in your promotional movie, especially if you want to sell the PS3 game, because then people are going to walk in going, Alexei is clearly evil.
Mm-hmm.
But as for just Garista, I think he's an okay villain. Like, he doesn't really do much, and his aim to, like, test out this new ultimate super weapon is kind of weird, especially with how secretive it is. But I do like that there is a confrontation with him at the end.
I agree with that. Like, I feel as a villain as a whole, he didn't get a lot of development to really leave an impression, would be the best way to put it.
Yeah.
As a whole, as a typical Tales main antagonist, I'm like, he had his moments. He's comparable to, like, minor villains you would encounter throughout the series, like Alexei, or in, like, Symphonia, the design Cardinals.
Mm-hmm. He's kind of like a mini-boss in a way.
Pretty much. Like, he serves as just, like, a potential development point for the characters in the storyline.
Okay. That's I get that. I personally did not care for Garista. Only in the sense, okay, so for me, and I hate that I'm being like the super negative Nancy today.
Well, he's not a great villain. I'm not going to stand here and go, no, he's in the top 5 Tales villains of all time.
Right.
Frickin' Milos, get him out of here. That guy sucks. It's all about Garista. He's number 1. So no, I'm not saying that at all. So he's a pretty kind of flat villain.
Well, yes. So my go ahead, Luca.
No, like, that's just my point. He really is a flat villain. Like, he doesn't really have a very reaching goal or point in the film other than to fill the antagonist slot.
Yeah. But, like, so my problem with Garista is the fact that he literally has 2 scenes where he's shown. The one where both of them where Niran goes to talk to him. And then they have this whole adventure where they go to the castle, which, by the way, I love everything that happens in the old ruins. I love that like the air is like making these like stone monsters coming out of the walls, and I love how when they're getting out, like the ruined castle just turns into like this giant dragon head. Like that whole sequence was amazing. And I love that.
It's a very fun scene for sure.
Yeah,
I was
I just
wondering where that dungeon would be in the world because I kind of wanted to visit it.
I feel like in the PS3 game that must be a place you can visit.
I hope so.
Might be
That'd be rad.
Might be the super dungeon.
That could be
Maybe.
cool.
Yeah.
Have like a special support conversation with like Flynn and Yuri or something. They kind of reminisce about the events there. But anyway, back to what you're saying about Garista.
sorry. So yeah, they have these two scenes with Garista, whatever, and it's like your friend. Like as soon as you see him, like he's probably gonna be the bad guy. He's like, you might as well just put a flashing sign on it that says bad guy. But so they go on this whole mission to figure out like what's wrong with the air, and they find this machine, shut down the machine, place falls apart, turns into a giant dragon thing, whatever. And then they go back, have Nyron's funeral, because I don't like that Nyron just kind of gives up, just sits in his pit like, well, my arm's fucked up, I'm gonna die now. But so they go back, have Nyron's funeral, and then Flynn like has this moment where he just kind of pieces everything together, and then they go up to Garista and is like, it was you did all this, and it's like, Flynn, you do realize we have 10 minutes left of this movie. And you're just now piecing this together, and also it's like, by the way, Garista killed Flynn's dad. I felt like that was just kind of a weird add-in.
Yeah. That was kind of a weird thing of hate him. He's so evil.
Here, let's force another plot point to make him pointlessly evil.
And like, I wouldn't have so much of a problem with this if it wasn't like the literal last 10 minutes of this movie where like, oh, it's like the movie almost forgot. It's like, oh crap, we need to tell you who the bad guy is.
Yeah.
But yeah.
Like even his end game is weird because it's like if he wanted to like make his super weapon stick around, why wasn't he in the fortress or in the ruins when they were exploring it? Like that, it almost make more sense for him to be incorporated there at some point. Like he stops them from leaving and tries to kill them or something, so that he's like, aha, the super weapon's a success. It's gonna work.
Right.
And I can't have you tell about it.
Or
and
even
it's like,
have a final boss transformation with it.
Right.
That'd be very Tales of.
But I don't like have an inherent problem with Garista's plan, because like he's saying this like, oh well, we need to start manufacturing Blastia because like all we can do right now is like dig it up from ruins, so like we're trying to find artificial ways to do it. Like I think that's like, okay, that makes sense. You're trying to find a renewable like energy source. That's cool. But you don't have to be a dick about it.
Yeah, like why are you killing off your own knights for like no reason? Like, isn't there better ways to test this out than just do that? Like, if you want to be evil about it and still test it out on people, like grab prisoners or something and test it out on them. Don't kill your own like knights. Like, it just doesn't make sense.
Yeah, I mean, and as much as I'm like nitpicking this movie, I actually overall did really enjoy it because, Tales of Vesperia, it was my first introduction to the Tales series. And Darren, I don't know if you said, I know someone has said this, like a lot of like people say like whatever your first Tales game ends up being probably your favorite.
That's something I kind of believe in. Yeah.
Yeah.
Not a lot of people agree with me though.
I agree with it in some levels, but I also say it's the nostalgia factor.
Oh, it totally is. It totally is.
Is Eternia, or Tales of Destiny 2, as it was called in North America. But I wouldn't say it's my favorite anymore. Or I would still say it's like in my top 5 for sure. But like, if I had to tell somebody what's the best Tales of to start off with, I'd say Vesperia right off the bat.
Mm-hmm. And honestly, that's why I started with Vesperia, because like I went online. It's like, all right, I'm interested in the Tales series. Which one should I start with? And literally, like everyone said, start with Vesperia. It's a good entry point, and I agree. like almost immediately I latched on to all the characters. I think everyone's really cool. Everyone's got a really nice personality. I like I get that the story is simple. It's kind of cliche in a bit, but I like it. And it honestly kind of made me realize, like, I like this whole, like, people starting a guild or in a guild or just going on adventures. And, like, after I started playing Vesperia, I went and started watching Fairy Tale, because it's got kind of that similar vibe to it. And, you know, I really enjoy that show, too. So, with this movie, after playing the game for a bit, and I obviously still need to finish it, but, like, I like seeing these characters in a different situation. You know, it tells their story before the game, stuff that was only hinted at in the game that you're getting more context for. It's not perfect by any means, but, like, I like these characters enough that I am willing to basically see them in, you know, anything else that you know, Namco wants to put out.
Certainly. I think even kind of like the game itself, this movie is more of a catalyst just to have the characters go on another adventure rather than tell like a compelling story with well thought out dynamics and fleshed out villains. It's kind of more of this vehicle to have these characters do stuff, and you like these characters. They're likable characters and you have fun along with them, which is kind of what the game itself is very evocative of. You're not going on it to like redefine what you think of JRPGs. It's just a fun adventure with some really cool people.
Yeah, it
Right.
just brings back a little bit of the love that you felt from the game. Like, it feels like it's just something more of the game added back into it.
Can I gush about how much I love the ending of this movie?
How it starts right into the intro of the
I
game.
freaking love that. It's so smart, especially because it's a prequel, and I love it because you see him in his outfit from the game. He's got Rapide with him, and he's like, you know what? I'm going out. I'm wandering around. I'm going to go out my adventure. He walks out the gate, and bam, cut to the intro of the game. It's like especially for people who are already fans of the game, and as a vehicle for getting new people in. They see the intro of like the other characters, and they get that catchy song. Which, it's probably still one of my favorite Tales openings, actually, now that I think about it.
I would put that as my favorite Tales opening. Number 2 would probably go to Xillia 2.
Yeah, that's a good one.
But yeah, Darren, I definitely agree with that. I thought that was such a nice moment especially for people who are like familiar, because it's like he's leaving the Knights. He's in his outfit from the game. Rapide's got his little pipe now, and they're walking away, and it's like, oh, okay, that's cool. And then like now this can like start leading to the game, and it's like, nope, credits roll, and we're playing the intro to the game right now. It's like, oh, that makes me want to go play it right now.
Pretty much.
It's like I'm gonna finish this movie and immediately start the game.
Like, I think that makes a lot of sense too. Like, if you just finish the movie and you have the game ready to go, like, I think it makes a lot of sense to start it like that.
Oh yeah.
And then, like, it feels like Yuri's heading off and heading to the beginning point where he's heading back to the lower quarter of the first city you started.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. So yeah, I guess my final thing for this is like, if you have any like passing interest in the Tales series, I like everyone else says, Vesperia is a great place to start. It's got really nice characters, and if you find that you really like that game and those characters, this movie is a nice companion piece to that. I mean, even if you want to start with this and get some small introduction to it, you can do it either way, I feel.
You really could.
Yeah.
And then, but I think personally for me, I think it's better to go with the movie after the game, just because the movie brings in such fun little Easter eggs that you notice from the game.
Mm-hmm.
Like, you see Rita's habit of fireballing everything. Or like in the bar fight scene, you see...
That's such a good scene. That's probably like my favorite part of the movie, is that bar fight scene.
I love that. That's my favorite part as well.
I think there's one Easter egg in the bar fight scene that I just see like Rapide's like barking as Yuri and Flynn are going apeshit over everyone, and then you see him like notice something shiny on the ground, and then you see him with a spoon in his mouth, and I'm like, oh my god, it's hinting to what his weapon will eventually be, which upgrades to a knife in the mouth.
Right. I love Repeat. I feel so bad in the game because like I like Repeat as a character, but I never use him.
No, he quickly gets replaced in actual combat usability. It's not your fault.
Yeah, it's hard to keep Repeat in the party, but like I think that's another great thing about Vesperia as well in the game. Like it's one of the few games where I love being able to play every character because everyone is unique and different in a fun way and not in an annoying fighting style way.
Sure. I think Carol's the only one that I can't like play because I think he's a little slow. But
well, he's a tank type character. If
he
you're not
is.
used to heavy hitters,
No,
he's very difficult.
It's honestly why I like playing Yuri because he's just really fast and he just go in there, get take care of, and I don't know. I like the fast characters.
For me, I always loved playing Rita because I can spam magic like crazy, and mages were always usually my go-tos.
Right.
But I think what also defined a great thing about the game is Estelle. She wasn't your typical white mage archetype.
Mm-hmm.
She was actually able to she actually had decent stats. She wasn't like your fragile white mage with crap defense. She was actually a white mage who could fight with a sword.
She's basically a paladin.
Yeah,
basically,
really.
yeah. And obviously I don't want to get like too deep into the game because that's whatever. But I do like Estelle's kind of arc in the game. Like you don't really get a whole lot of her in the movie. She's like in for one scene to say hi to Flynn. But I like because at the point where I'm at the game, it's kind of where they're off an adventure and who's the dragon rider's name again? I forget.
Judith,
thank you. I knew it was something like that. But I like that. Like Estelle's really not sure what she wants to do, and like Judith is constantly questioning her about it. It's like, well, what do you want to do? Make up your mind. So I like that Estelle is growing as a character. I'm interested to see where that all ends.
It's really good.
I always lament that we never got a sequel to Tales of Vesperia. Like a lot of other Tales games get their direct sequels. I always wanted more adventures in that world.
I know, like that bums me out. That like everyone's telling me is like, oh well, you should play like Symphonia or Graces or Zillia after you get done with Vesperia. It's like, why did they just not make it? Like they made a Zillia 2 and a Symphonia 2. Why didn't anyone make a Vesperia 2? I won't
talk about Symphonia 2.
We don't talk about that.
You might trigger someone by saying that.
Oh god. No, but like seriously, like I like these characters enough. Like I would love another game with them, or hell, I would watch like an anime with these guys, just like going on dumb adventures every week. I would watch that.
Well, you could do that with Vesperia, since that one's got an anime being written right now, which sadly to say for me is a lot more superior compared to the game itself.
I might have to check that out then. Yeah, I guess wrapping up here, do you guys have any final thoughts on First Strike?
I think it's like Luca was saying, it's a good companion piece to finishing the game, just so you get all the references, and you also avoid kind of the weird spoilers of Alexei being a villain, especially because it kind of leads itself into like the future kind of politics that the characters have to deal with. And it is a fun watch too. Like it's a fun, like it's not gonna be your favorite anime movie of all time. It's not gonna be the new Ghost in the Shell or anything like that. But it is a fun watch with a lot of cool action scenes, and you get a lot of cool character modes. Like this, how the more somber scenes, like with Rapide dealing with the death of Lambert, and the bar fight scene, which is just tons of fun to watch. And you get the cool final fight where you're all exhilarated.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I feel like. Yeah, like I said, it's a great companion piece. It's not the best movie in the world, but it's fun, it's full of life, and you can tell just like with the game, it has a lot of heart in it, at the least.
Yeah.
But, give it a shot, and I always say give Vesperia a shot, and maybe if we're lucky and we get enough fandom to Vesperia, maybe Namco will finally be like, we're gonna remaster Tales of Vesperia as PS3 remaster.
I would rather have that than like a new Tales game, if I can be perfectly honest. because there's so much extra content in the PS3 version, and there's like a fan translation you can use, but you have to have like a really old PS3 running on old firmware, and you have to hack it to actually play it on a console. So it's a bummer because that's definitely the definitive version, and I would kill for a localized re-release of it in some form.
Hey, bring everybody back. Although, for me personally, I would say that Raven's voice actor in the movie was far superior to his game counterpart one, unfortunately.
Maybe it's just me then, because I kind of was like, I was really bummed out when I thought his voice was too deep for the character. I was kind of like, maybe it's just me being used to Raven's actual voice actor from the game. Like, I think that's probably that, because I've spent like 60 hours with him, so it's, when I hear Raven open his mouth, that's what I expect, and I don't know how to feel when I don't get that. And granted, that happened for everyone who wasn't Flynn or Yuri.
Yeah, like, for me, it's because of Raven's style of dialogue. He's this very smarmy, sly, slick character. Like, his old man voice kind of doesn't do it for me. And like, the deeper voice he has in this, it just sounds so enigmatic, as I was saying before. Or so he feels like he's that character you're like wondering what he does the whole way through. And where you're gonna end up with him.
Yeah. I agree with that. Yeah. Unless you guys have anything else. No?
How'd you guys feel about the 3D used in the movie? It was quite a heavy user of it.
It didn't bother me.
I thought they actually blended the 3D and 2D quite well with the characters and whatnot. Because usually in a lot of, I think it's not this Tales Symphonia anime. There's like some game anime adaptation. I can't think of it off the top of my head, but I know it uses like 3D, like in the castle at the end of First Strike. It's almost all entirely in CG, and they're running along it, and it looks really natural because of the lighting. Whereas you get a lot of other examples where it stands out and it looks kind of off-putting.
Yeah. I think they did a lot of like cell shading with the 3D stuff, so it's got kind of that smoother kind of cartoon shading affecting to it. So I think, at least for me personally, I didn't really like when anything 3D showed up. I was not taken out of the movie because of it.
I think that's why like Tales does the anime cel shaded style with its game, because it just blends so naturally that you could easily switch between 2D and 3D and it doesn't ever feel off-putting, because like in the games you have these 2D cutscenes at points and it just works perfectly fine, like when it switches from 3D to the 2D animated scenes.
Yeah, I'd agree with that. And I mean, I love Vesperia's kind of cel shady art style. I was playing it a couple weeks ago, and it's like, this is a 360 game from like 6-7 years ago, and it still looks great.
Best looking Tales game still. Is actually, up until the PS4 came out, it was the only Tales game to actually properly run in 1080p. Like, it's still, I'd say it's the best. I think it's the visually most appealing one out of all of them.
Yeah, I mean, it's got that kind of style like Wind Waker has, that like, because of the way it was done, it has kind of like a timeless style that like, even as like console generations keep going on, I mean, it still looks really sharp, and it's very colorful, and I enjoy that. I don't like dingy, dark RPGs.
Dark Souls.
Oh god. I would probably have some kind of panic attack trying to play Dark Souls. All right. Well, I think that just does it for this week's thing. Thanks for everybody for checking out this review. I hope if you aren't already a Tales fan, maybe this helped you, get some interest in that. Maybe you want to go check out the games or the movie. I hope that helps. If you're a Tales fan, I hope you didn't hate this too much.
If you own Xbox Live Gold, you've likely owned Tales of Vesperia through Games for Gold at some point. Because it was under that service.
Interesting.
And if not, it's like relatively cheap, and it is backwards compatible with the Xbox One, I believe.
Ooh.
I don't think it has hit that backwards compatibility yet, just because there's still the rumors going around that if they do the PS3 version remastered, there's the possibility they might release it.
Don't give my hopes up. Because I seriously am more interested in that than the Tales of Vesperia at this point. Yeah, but a chance to go back to like arguably my favorite Tales game is something I kind of want more.
Agreed.
Well, guys, thank you guys so much for joining us today. Luca, I know I've been trying to get you on here for ages. And there's a number of reviews you still want to do. So.
Oh, you can call me in anytime.
Oh yeah, and Darren, thank you for coming on. I knew that you had way more of an expertise on this kind of stuff than I did, and like I know you've already reviewed this movie for your channel, but I like purposely did not watch it, just which I can now. But
yeah, you can go in, you know all the spoilers,
right? But if you want to hear more of Darren, go look up the Gaming Pilgrimage on YouTube. He's got all kinds of retrospects on the Tales games, the Tales movies. You've done stuff like on Fire Emblem too?
Yeah, I've done stuff on Fire Emblem. I did a Star Ocean retrospective, and currently I'm very far behind on my Shin Megami Tensei retrospective, which hopefully I'll have more of that out soon in the near future.
Awesome.
Just don't watch my first video. That's what I tell everyone now. Just don't watch the earliest stuff. Watch stuff from within like 2015 up. The Fire Emblem retrospective is where I feel like the quality of my content is increased drastically.
No, Darren does really good work. I like his analytic style that he's done for all these Tales games, and like I watched through the entire playlist of the Tales games. Like, I think I want to go check out like a lot of these older ones too now. So thank you for that.
Awesome, thanks. It means a lot to hear that. It's always cool to hear when people enjoy that and kind of get something out of it.
Mm-hmm. So yeah, guys, if you're into Tales or any of this anime RPG bull whatever, definitely go check out the Gaming Pilgrimage, and I'll link that in the description for easy access for all you guys. But guys, thanks again for joining me, and to everybody else, we'll catch you next week with I think we're reviewing Digimon Tri next week.
That's a good one.
It's a good one.
Digimon
indeed.
Tri 3 comes out next Saturday, and I'm so excited. Alright. Good night, everybody. We'll catch you next time.
See ya.
Later.